The grand corridors of Buckingham Palace are no strangers to whispered secrets and sudden shifts in power, but the latest developments surrounding the milestone duplication of the family hierarchy have caught even the most seasoned royal insiders completely off guard. As Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, celebrated her 20th milestone birthday, the true significance of the occasion was not marked by a lavish public banquet or a formal commemorative portrait. Instead, it arrived in the form of a quiet, strategic decision approved directly by Prince William, a move that effectively reshapes the future structure of the British monarchy, while King Charles III remains firmly on the throne. This unexpected intervention in the titles of Sophie's children represents far more than a simple gesture of familial affection. It signals a deliberate calculation regarding who will actually carry the weight of the crown in the decades to come. For more than 2 decades, Prince Edward and Sophie have operated as the institution's most reliable foundation, remaining steadfastly in the background, while louder, more turbulent dramas dominated the global headlines. They never actively sought the spotlight through theatrical public statements or personal controversies, choosing instead to perform their duties with a quiet dedication that earned them immense respect within the palace walls. However, the current reality facing the royal family has forced a massive reassessment of this low-profile approach, because the monarchy is now confronting a severe numerical deficit that threatens its very operational capacity. For years, the prevailing strategy championed by the leadership was the concept of a slimmed-down monarchy, a leaner, more efficient core designed to project modernity and reduce financial burdens on the public. Yet this theoretical efficiency only functions if there are enough working individuals to handle the hundreds of charity patronages, diplomatic engagements, and state events that keep the institution relevant to the modern world. With King Charles facing public health challenges that have visibly restricted his schedule, and Queen Camilla balancing her own public commitments, the boundaries of royal endurance are being tested like never before. Princess has long been regarded as the hardest working member of the family, carrying an immense load on her shoulders, but even her legendary stamina cannot sustain the entire weight of the crown indefinitely. Meanwhile, Prince William and Princess Catherine represent the undeniable future of the institution, but there are currently just 2 individuals trying to raise 3 young children, while simultaneously managing an escalating global portfolio. When William examines the geopolitical landscape and the internal roster of available scandal-free representatives, his options are remarkably narrow, which explains why his attention has turned decisively towards Sophie's immediate family. This shift represents a direct contradiction to the public stance articulated by the Duchess of Edinburgh just a few years ago, when she openly discussed the upbringing of Lady Louise and James. In a remarkably candid discussion, she explained that her children were deliberately raised with a clear understanding that they would very likely have to seek normal employment and earn their own living outside the royal apparatus. The children did not utilize the formal titles they were legally entitled to from birth, because their parents wanted them to experience a normal childhood unburdened by the crushing expectations and constant media scrutiny that accompanies full-time royal service. Yet the timeline of recent events completely contradicts this original trajectory, as James has now officially stepped into the title of Earl of Wessex, which completely alters his constitutional standing. You do not elevate the titles of the younger generation if the long-term plan is for them to disappear into private corporate careers. Instead, this elevation functions as a public positioning of these young individuals as vital future assets for the sovereign. Lady Louise, who was once one of the most shielded grandchildren of Queen Elizabeth II, is now being introduced to major public ceremonies with increasing regularity, showing a calm composure and dignified presence that echoes the traditional values of the old guard. Her shared passion for carriage driving, a sport pioneered by her late grandfather Prince Philip, further cements a connection to the historical roots of the family, while presenting a modern image of graceful service. The broader implications of William's strategic approval indicate that he is not merely waiting for his eventual succession to the throne, but is actively constructing the supporting team he will require when the crown finally rests on his own head. He is systematically rewarding quiet loyalty and consistent public service over performative drama, ensuring that the individuals closest to the center of power are those who have demonstrated absolute discretion over a quarter of a century. Sophie's own journey from a corporate public relations background to becoming one of King Charles's most trusted assets provides a perfect blueprint for this new generation of working royals. Her extensive humanitarian work in highly volatile regions across the African continent, focusing on issues that mainstream diplomacy often overlooks, has earned her international acclaim and established her as a formidable force within global charity networks. She has proven that true royal influence is built through consistent, meaningful action rather than superficial public relations campaigns, and it is this exact philosophy that she has instilled within her children. The transformation happening behind the palace walls is not an open rebellion or a sudden collapse of tradition, but rather a subtle rebalancing of power designed to secure the survival of the institution in an increasingly critical era. The intricate dynamics of the modern British monarchy dictate that every public appearance is heavily calculated, but the real transformation is occurring behind closed doors, where Prince William is silently executing a grand strategy for the future survival of the crown. If you analyze the structural shifts over the past few years, it becomes increasingly obvious that the old framework established during the late Elizabethan era is being systematically dismantled to make way for a much leaner yet sharper apparatus. William is not merely preparing to step into his father's shoes when the time eventually comes. He is already acting as the executive director of the royal family, establishing new boundaries and defining who belongs in the inner circle. The sudden elevation of the Duchess of Edinburgh's children must be viewed through this lens of long-term operational necessity rather than simple family generosity. For decades, commentators frequently underestimated the strategic importance of Prince Edward and Sophie, viewing them merely as supplementary figures who filled the margins of the royal calendar, while louder personalities generated global tabloid storms. However, this low-profile positioning was actually their greatest strength, allowing them to build an unblemished record of institutional loyalty and genuine public connection, completely insulated from the toxic cycles of media controversy. As the institution now faces an unprecedented generational cliff edge, with senior working royals reaching their late 70s and 80s, the value of the scandal-free branch has skyrocketed. The grand theory of a slimmed-down monarchy, which was widely promoted as the ultimate modern solution, has revealed its inherent structural flaws when tested against the relentless demands of the modern calendar. A monarchy that shrinks too far risks fading into public obscurity, and in contemporary media landscape, obscurity is synonymous with irrelevance. William understands this mathematical reality perfectly well, which is why he is utilizing his current authority to quietly draft Lady Louise and James into the core operational framework. This tactical maneuver has caused considerable discussion within the restricted circles of the palace, because it represents a complete reversal of the previous long-term strategy articulated by their parents. The original blueprint dictated that both children would step back from the royal spotlight entirely upon reaching adulthood, pursuing private careers, and living as normal citizens unburdened by constitutional obligations. Yet the sudden assignment of the Earldom of Wessex to James indicates that the geopolitical and domestic pressures facing the crown have accelerated the need for reliable reinforcements. You do not place a historic and highly significant title onto the shoulders of a young man unless you intend for that title to carry real constitutional weight in the public sphere. Lady Louise's visible presence at major national events further confirms this calculated pivot, as her composed demeanor and natural poise have rapidly captured the attention of the public and royal historians alike. She projects an innate dignity that heavily mirrors the stoic nature of the late Queen Elizabeth II, offering a sense of comforting continuity to a nation that has experienced rapid cultural and political changes. Her dedication to traditional equestrian pursuits, specifically the specialized art of carriage driving inherited from Prince Philip, serves as a powerful visual link to the historical legacy of the crown, while establishing her own distinct identity. Together, these two siblings represent a new generation of royal representatives who are completely untainted by the bitter accusations and public alienations that have fractured other branches of the family. They have been meticulously raised by Sophie to value substance over superficial visibility, focusing on the profound responsibilities of their status rather than the hollow privileges of celebrity. This exact philosophy aligns perfectly with William's broader vision for a modernized institution that justifies its existence through tangible public service rather than ancient grandstanding. While the international media remains hyper-focused on external family feuds and sensationalized memoirs, the actual architecture of the future British monarchy is being laid brick by brick through these quiet title adjustments and strategic repositionings. Sophie's evolution into King Charles's secret weapon has provided the necessary administrative shield for this transition, allowing her children to be integrated into the framework smoothly without attracting hostile media scrutiny. Her remarkable humanitarian record, especially her dangerous diplomatic missions to conflict zones across the globe, has established a high standard of functional royalty that William intends to replicate. The message being sent to the world through these subtle movements is unmistakable. The future crown will not rely on dramatic spectacles or superficial popularity campaigns, but on an unwavering commitment to quiet duty, discretion, and absolute loyalty. As William continues to expand his executive influence over the daily operations of the estate, he is systematically assembling a dedicated team of trusted lieutenants who will help him carry the massive burden of sovereignty when the inevitable transition occurs. The silent reshuffling of power that we are witnessing today is a definitive proof that the ancient institution is actively adapting to ensure its long-term survival in the modern era. When we look beneath the surface of the immediate palace announcements, the long-term grand design for the House of Windsor comes into sharp focus, revealing a masterclass in institutional longevity. The strategic chess moves executed by Prince William during this transitional period are not merely reactions to current crises, but are deliberate structural foundations laid for a century that demands absolute transparency and ethical clarity. The continuous integration of Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh's children, into the front line of public service represents the final piece of a complex puzzle designed to safeguard the crown against the corrosive effects of modern celebrity culture. For generations, the monarchy relied heavily on mystique and grand visual spectacles to maintain its authority among the population, but the contemporary digital age has rendered those ancient tools completely obsolete. Today, an institution can only survive if it proves its societal value through consistent, unglamorous dedication to the public good, and this is precisely the operational model that Sophie's branch of the family has perfected. While external elements sought validation through media campaigns and dramatic public disclosures, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh quietly proved that true royal power resides in absolute discretion and silent resilience. Prince William recognizes that when he eventually ascends to the throne, the traditional landscape of working royals will have transformed completely due to the natural passage of time. The aging guard of dedicated family members who have faithfully supported the crown since the mid-20th century will no longer be available to manage the vast network of national charities and diplomatic responsibilities. By expanding the constitutional roles of Lady Louise and James, Earl of Wessex, today William is successfully preventing a catastrophic administrative void that could have fundamentally destabilized the sovereign's public reach. This strategic foresight has completely altered the internal equilibrium of Buckingham Palace, shifting the center of gravity away from outdated models toward a highly focused and exceptionally disciplined core team. The transformation of James into the Earl of Wessex is a critical legal and symbolic marker, showing that the family is fully prepared to adapt its historical titles to meet modern survival requirements. This title is not a mere cosmetic honor designed to project superficial status. Instead, it functions as a formal mobilization of the next generation, ensuring that the values of quiet service remain central to the identity of the crown. Lady Louise's parallel evolution into a trusted public figure has provided a profound sense of psychological stability to an institution that has been repeatedly shaken by global headlines and domestic challenges. Her natural ability to connect with individuals from all walks of life, combined with her deep respect for the historical traditions established by Queen Elizabeth II, makes her an incredibly valuable asset for the future administration. She embodies a distinct form of modern royalty that does not seek personal adulation or digital validation, choosing instead to focus entirely on the historical continuity and collective purpose of the family. This clear focus on institutional duty over individual vanity is a direct result of Sophie's meticulous guidance and maternal philosophy, which prioritize real-world understanding over palace isolation. The Duchess of Edinburgh has successfully demonstrated that a modern royal can engage with the most complex global humanitarian challenges while maintaining absolute operational humility. By embedding this exact mindset within her children, she has provided Prince William with the ultimate administrative toolkit required to navigate the turbulent cultural shifts of the 21st century. The quiet transition of authority and responsibility that we are witnessing today is happening without public fanfare or dramatic proclamations, because true institutional evolution is always written in silent ink behind closed doors. The public may initially focus on the changing names and the distribution of ceremonial roles, but the deeper reality is that the structural foundations of the future monarchy have already been securely established. William is building an institution that is structurally smaller, but functionally sharper, rewarding those who have proven their resilience through decades of quiet loyalty and absolute dedication to the crown. As the world continues to watch the evolution of this ancient family, the steady emergence of Louise and James serves as a definitive proof that the British monarchy is not collapsing, but is instead undergoing a masterful and highly strategic reinvention designed to endure for generations to come.